Hello everyone, this is Mr. Jackson, and today we're going to be moving forward into our Concept 1 over the nervous system. We're going into Part 3, where we're going to be breaking down a new way of organizing that system into several different ways of dividing it or categorizing the parts and pieces of that system. And we're also going to be basically, as we go through each part moving forward, it's going to be based off of these divisions of your nervous system into those smaller categories. So you're going to find an entire page in your guided notes dedicated to just this. We're going to be referencing this a lot. We're going to, before we move into an explanation of what each of these are, we'll always refer back to where it fits within this organizer. I'll also have this on a whiteboard in the room so that we have this to always reference as we move forward in this part of the unit. So first thing, nervous system. I'll just show you just how it's pronounced and how it can be broken down. The nervous system is broken down into your central and peripheral nervous systems. Those are the two major categories. So the central nervous system and the peripheral. Your peripheral nervous system can be further broken down into both a sensory division, and this is all about taking stuff in and relaying it to the central nervous system, or your motor division, which is all about an action that your central nervous system has delivered, it's decided on, and now we're going to put it into effect. That motor division, the actual output or response to stimuli, is going to be broken down further into somatic or autonomic. In a future part, we'll discuss what those mean. And then the autonomic nervous system can be further broken down into your parasympathetic, which is more of like your rest and digest system, or your sympathetic, which is going to be more of like your fight or flight. Okay, so we're going to cover these in great detail. We're going to provide all kinds of examples and some visuals that will really help us hit this home, but that is the way that we will organize our conversations moving forward. So first level of organization here, first two main divisions of the overall nervous system. You've got your central nervous system, which is just referring to what's here in the center. Okay, you can see these here. You've got your brain and your spinal cord, right in the center there. This is your integration and control center, where we integrate information from the stimuli that we've received anywhere in the body, and we make decisions. We control what happens next. That happens in your brain and spinal cord. And you have to have a way of delivering information to and from this central nervous system, and that's where your peripheral nervous system comes into effect. So this is referring to the nerves that come from your spine, so those spinal nerves, or your cranium, which are your cranial nerves. So you have nerves that come from your brain, you have nerves that come from your spinal cord. And all of this is just a communication system between that central nervous system and anywhere else in the body, bringing information in or putting the outputs where they need to be to have effects in your body. For today's part, we're going to specifically be focusing more on the central nervous system side. We do want to break down these key players in a little more detail. And so remember, your central nervous system, it's broken down into the brain and spinal cord. That's what makes it up. The brain is protected by your skull, and it's surrounded by layers of tissue that we call meninges, and it is further protected by a surrounding fluid that we call cerebrospinal fluid, and that's what actually helps cushion your brain from injury. So you have the skull. Inside the skull, you've got these tissue layers called meninges, and surrounding your brain and protecting it from, like, let's say, bashing against the inside of that cranium, you have cerebrospinal fluid. So it's very, very important that we keep this organ safe, and you have those in order to do so. You also have what we call ventricles. These are little hollow fluid-filled cavities within the brain that contain both the choroid plexus, we'll get to that in a bit, and that is what actually will help make all of that surrounding cerebrospinal fluid. So we have an ongoing source of this surrounding cushioning fluid for your brain that we can create within these ventricles. All right, so now we're going to be breaking down the three main parts of the brain. The largest part is what we'll start with. The largest part of your brain is called the cerebrum. Okay, now this is where you have both your left and right hemispheres. Okay, so if you're looking at the brain from the top down, you're looking at your cerebrum, left and right sides. It can also be divided into the 4 lobes that you see here. These are color-coded. You're going to be having, as we do with all of our organ systems, you're going to have a big body diagram where you're going to be asked to color code and label the major portions of the brain. These 4 lobes would be a great example of some things that need to be labeled. But the cerebrum, it's functional in learning, speech, your emotions, your reasoning skills, vision, hearing, fine movements. There is a lot that this area of the brain in these various lobes, there's a lot that's responsible for. And so we're going to further break down what each of these lobes do in terms of what they contribute. And this will make a lot more sense whenever we do our deeper dive into the brain moving forward. The surface of the cerebrum is referred to as the cerebral cortex. It's arranged in these folds that help to increase surface area. But yeah, so that's what you see here, like all these folds and ridges. That's what we refer to as our cerebral cortex. You have this lower portion here that we call the cerebellum. The cerebellum is found under the cerebrum. It's very similarly named. It helps us in maintaining our posture and also with balance. Okay, so it helps us in terms of understanding where our bodies are positioned in space and how to effectively maintain posture and balance relative to our environment. You can thank your cerebellum for that. It also helps to coordinate with timing, pattern recognition for both smooth and agile, even subconscious movements, so things that are more reflexive or like reflex movements. It helps to coordinate that as well. So anything related to body position in space or maintaining posture and alignment is all cerebellum. And then finally, we have our lowest portion here, our brainstem. This is the base of the cerebrum. It is anterior or in front of the cerebellum. This includes the medulla oblongata, the midbrain, and the pons regions. We can further break those down as well because each of those will naturally serve their own function within the brainstem. The brainstem generally is responsible for relaying info between the rest of the brain and down into the spinal cord. Okay, so anywhere above, so the cerebrum, the cerebellum, the brainstem is that connection between the decision-making portions of the brain and the spinal cord where we can then transmit those decisions, those outputs, and deliver them elsewhere. It also can be responsible in and of itself for coordinating a lot of the more automatic or autonomic functions like breathing, circulation, so blood circulating throughout your body, maintaining your body temperature whenever you're sleeping, digestion, swallowing. All of these different things that are more like automatic processes that you don't really have to think about much, you can thank your brainstem and the structures within the brainstem for those as well. And so that is going to do it for part 3. That's more than enough. We've broken down central nervous system. In the next part that we continue forward with, we're going to break down the peripheral nervous system. And so we'll see you at the next one.